Electric motorcycles, they promise this incredible future of silent, instant, thrilling power. But what's it actually like to own one today, beyond the shiny showroom floor? We're going to dive deep into the real state of electric two-wheelers. And you might be surprised to find that the biggest innovations, well, they aren't always coming from the factory.
The very first thing that hits you is the torque. It's wild. There's no clutch, no gears, just this silent, smooth wave of acceleration that just keeps on coming. I mean, it is a completely new sensation. It's unbelievably fun, but yeah, it's also a little unnerving that first time.
Okay, so that instant thrill is amazing, for sure. But it leads you right to the two questions that just nag at every single potential EV rider. How far can I really go, and how long do I have to wait when I finally get there? Range and charging time. That's pretty much the whole ballgame.
So, here's what we're going to cover in this explainer. We'll start with that initial feeling of riding one. Then we'll look at how owners are literally upgrading their own chargers and even hacking their batteries. We'll talk about reframing how you even think about charging. And finally, we'll see how these riders have become true pioneers.
All right, so you've just ridden your new electric bike home. That initial excitement is through the roof, but it's quickly joined by a very constant companion.
As one rider put it, you become slightly obsessed with the battery and the range meter. It's what we call range anxiety, and for a new owner, your eyes are just glued to that percentage. Every little twist of the throttle feels like you're making a direct withdrawal from a very, very finite bank account.
And here's a big source of that anxiety. The charger that comes with the bike is, well, it's basic. It's just 1.3 kilowatts. Plugging it in means you're not going anywhere for a long, long time, like 8 or 9 hours. And that is the out-of-the-box problem that every single owner has to solve.
But here's where the story gets really, really interesting. Instead of just accepting these limitations, a whole community of owners decided, nope, we can do better. They took matters into their own hands, creating a toolkit of solutions that goes way beyond what you get in the box.
You see, the real research and development isn't happening in some sterile lab. It's happening on forums and wikis. Riders are sharing wiring diagrams, CAD files for 3D printed mounts, super detailed how-to guides. They're collectively building this massive knowledge base that just blows the official owner's manual out of the water.
And you can see the results of their efforts right here. These community-sourced aftermarket chargers, they offer more power in a smaller package. And the best part? Riders figured out how to build this setup for about $300, a tiny fraction of what an official replacement would cost.
And get this, it's not just some simple plug-and-play swap. Owners have documented the entire process, right down to the number of bolts. And by removing that bulky stock charger, you don't just make room for a better one. You shed about 17 pounds from the bike. That's huge. It means better range and even quicker acceleration.
This whole process really highlights a key concept that a lot of people miss. That box on the wall at a charging station, the EVSE, that's not actually the charger. Think of it more like a really smart, really safe extension cord. All it does is tell the real charger, the one that's on the bike itself, how much power it can safely pull. Understanding this one little fact is what empowers these riders to create their own custom high-speed charging setups.
Okay, so modifying the hardware is one thing, but the community's ingenuity goes even deeper, like right into the brain of the bike, the battery management system, or the BMS.
Riders started noticing this bizarre thing they nicknamed magic charging. It was weird. You'd ride the bike hard, stop for a few minutes with, say, 40% battery left, and when you turn the bike back on, boom, suddenly it reads 70%. It was like it was charging itself out of thin air. But was it?
So the leading theory from the community is that a poorly crimped connection deep inside the battery pack heats up when you're riding hard. That increases resistance, which causes the voltage to drop. And that fools the bike's computer into thinking the battery's way more drained than it actually is. Then, when it cools down, the connection becomes solid again, the voltage shoots back up, and voila! Magic charge.
Now, manufacturers are responding with new, warranted battery packs that fix this old crimping issue, which is great. But there's a trade-off. It turns out these newer, more reliable batteries are also more conservative. They often charge at half the speed of the older ones, especially at a high state of charge. And that was a really frustrating discovery for riders who had invested in all this high-power charging gear. So, to get the absolute most out of their batteries, old or new, users discovered this, let's call it a recalibration trick. By running the battery completely flat and then doing one long, uninterrupted, full charge, they could essentially teach the bike's brain its true full capacity. And this often unlocked miles and miles of previously hidden range.
You know, all these hacks and hardware mods, they really point to a bigger idea. Successfully owning an electric vehicle isn't just about the technology. It's about completely shifting your entire mindset. When people start thinking about home charging, they often hear about this, the big NEMA 1450 outlet. It's capable of delivering a hefty 9.6 kilowatts of power, and a lot of electricians will just recommend it as the one-size-fits-all solution.
But the real question is, do you actually need that much power for your daily ride? The answer, for the vast majority of people, is a pretty resounding no.
See, opting for a smaller 24-amp circuit is way cheaper and easier to install, and it can often help you avoid a multi-thousand-dollar upgrade to your home's entire electrical service. Crucially, it's still more than enough to add 70 or 80 miles of range overnight, which, let's be honest, covers pretty much everyone's daily commute.
This mindset shift also applies when you're on the road. Unlike a gas station, you can't just pull up and swipe a credit card. The public charging network is, well, it's kind of a fragmented mess. There are all these different providers, and each one demands its own app, its own account, its own preloaded balance. Planning a long trip literally means juggling a half-dozen apps on your phone.
So when you put all of this together, the hardware mods, the software hacks, the new ways of thinking, a really clear picture starts to emerge. The early adopters of electric motorcycles, they aren't just consumers, they're basically co-developers.
The most powerful feature of owning an electric motorcycle today isn't the instant torque or the silent ride, it's the community. The collective troubleshooting, the shared knowledge, the open source ingenuity. That's what makes owning these machines not just possible, but genuinely rewarding. The community is the killer app.
And this really leaves us with a fascinating question, doesn't it? In this new electric era, are the most important advancements actually happening inside corporate R&D labs? Or are they being coded and soldered and 3D printed in the garages of passionate writers? Based on everything we're seeing, the future of writing just might be open source.